Hello everyone, this is Angel Esquivel here. Welcome back to another movie review, and today we're going to be reviewing Michael, directed by Antoine Fuqua, who made movies like Training Day, Magnificent Seven, Southpaw, and the Equalizer trilogy, which out of all those movies, I gotta say the Training Day was probably gotta be one of my favorites. And he's also made other movies, but I have not seen them, yet. And he's also directed the new Michael Jackson biography movie, and it's starring actor and also singer Jafar Jackson, who, when I did my research, happens to be related to Michael Jackson. He's actually the nephew of Michael Jackson, which is a really great casting in my opinion. So without further ado, let's get to the review. Most of the time I make my movie reviews, I have to explain to all of you, like what the story is about and what's the characters' names, but this is a Michael Jackson biopic, so basically this is going to be like very easy to explain because he doesn't really need an introduction. I mean, he's the king of pop. Michael Jackson. I mean, hell, even people from foreign countries even know who Michael Jackson is. But the real question is, and you all have seen it from my thumbnail, is this movie as bad as the critics say? And I have an answer for all of you. No, it's not bad. In fact, this movie is really good. And I was really surprised that the critics did not like this because, I'm gonna just say this, the critics are full of shit when they say that, oh, this movie was bad. Like, no, it's not bad. It's actually really good. And it's, in this time, in this day and age, this is probably like the closest we'll ever get to a Michael Jackson concert if you see this in IMAX, which is actually probably like the best way to see it, and I'm glad that I have an A-list, and I'm sorry that I brag about my A-list again. If there's one thing that they are correct about, the critics, if there's one thing that they are right about what they say in their statement of making the review of this movie, is that most of the time this movie, it is mainly just Michael Jackson, performing. It doesn't really explain too much of his outside life. It's mainly just, him performing, his whole family performing. And also even though we get, his story of like him and his father, like how his father is sort of like verbally and physically abusive towards him, and also like how he spends time with his brothers and all the stuff that he buys and how he interacts with his fans. Yeah, we get that. But most of the time, the critics are right when they say that most of the time it's just performing, like it's just like a concert instead of actually like watching an actual movie. But then again, like, I really see nothing wrong with that. In fact, I feel like this actually is a good way of showing what his life was all about. Because the way I see it, we're basically seeing the perspective of Michael Jackson. Because in the beginning of the movie, it's shown that he looks outside the window. He sees other kids playing around with other children, but with his life, he's different because his father, sort of like pushes him into like singing and rehearsing and performing for other people. So he never had that chance of being a child. That's why most of the time, like most of his life, he's just like, always performing in concerts. That's what this movie, that's how I view the movie, and we're sort of seeing his perspective and how he views the world, which is such a really interesting thing to see, in my opinion, in my perspective. I mean, I don't know how you guys view it. And the guy who plays Michael Jackson, Jafar Jackson, he does such a good job at playing and portraying Michael Jackson. He literally sounds like him. In the interviews, like I also saw like him in the interviews with like Jimmy Fallon, he sounds like a whole different person. But in the movie, he literally sounds like Michael Jackson with that voice of his. And I also liked how they showed like how he was very self-conscious about like Michael Jackson. I like how they actually showed how he was very self-conscious about his own face, and how he had like a very sharp face but a very big nose, which explains like why he looked very different. And I'm gonna tell you a story like on how I used to view Michael Jackson, because as a kid, I don't know where I got this idea that he bleached his skin, because I think I grew up hearing that my dad will always tell me that, oh, he must have did something to bleach his skin, you know. And ever since I was a kid, you know, I hear a lot from my mom or dad, or mainly my dad. You know, I just think, oh yeah, he must have fucking did surgery to bleach his skin. But no, it turns out he has something, like, it's basically common for, like, you know, people of color, where they have, like, I don't know the specific name, where they're like, they're white spots growing on their, like, on their skin, and it becomes obvious. So he had that, you know, that, and I started realizing this, and honestly, I just, like, it all makes sense, you know. It doesn't, I just find it, it's like, wait a minute, how can you bleach your skin? You know, that's crazy. What I liked about the filming of this movie, I liked how that most of the time when Michael Jackson is performing, it actually almost feels like a concert, because I remember as a kid, you know, my dad used to bought me and my brother, like, or, you know, he bought all of us, you know, like a DVD. You know, it was basically like the whole, like, concert of, you know, Michael Jackson, like, just performing. I remember this specific scene. It was like the most iconic part of his performance. Him just standing like this, or yeah, with his shades on, and then as soon as he turns his head like this, everyone like, ah, like, one move and he's already just getting everyone fucking hyped. It's like, I'm gonna get to this later, but I just want to get to the review. Like most of the time, in the movie, when he's also performing, my heart was just racing. Like, I've never felt like it's almost rare. Like, most of the time when I know that my heart is like racing, it's either like a horror film, or either I'm very excited and happy that, like, how good this film is. And Michael Jackson literally just, the movie Michael literally does that well. So yeah, in this movie, I also like how they introduced, like, they actually were able to give us, like, the songs that he made, like Beat It, Thriller. That was a really good part too. Billie Jeans, and that one song called Bad. Oh, well, though, personally, I'm not really a big fan of that song. Honestly, I know a bunch of Michael Jackson fans will like that song, but honestly, I did not. That's probably got to be the one song I don't like, only because I don't like how movie trailers, or specifically animated movie trailers, they always keep playing that song. Like, every time, like, first time I heard that song, Bad, was from, like, Megamind. I thought, I was like, okay, it's alright. Then I heard that song again in Angry Birds, the first trailer. I was like, okay, this is, okay, I'm finding this annoying. And then I heard this in the Despicable Me 3 trailer. I'm like, okay, this song is getting annoying, and I don't like that animated movies are using this as their promotional trailer. It's fucking annoying. But, you know, back to the review. So the way this movie ends off is, you know, Michael Jackson and his brothers, or the Jackson 5, you know, they performed like one last time, because obviously their abusive father, this asshole, you know, forces them to, like, oh, we gotta make money. You know, I got a cigar, and I'm old, and I'm black, I'm proud, yeah, and stuff. So Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 do the performance, and he announces everyone to, like, hey guys, this is gonna be my last show, and yeah, I'm not gonna do this again, Dad. So, you know, fuck you. So I actually liked how, you know, for once he stood up to his father, his abusive father. Then we cut to, like, maybe, like, I think it jumps forward to like a year later, where he becomes full white. He's performing that song Bad, which is, again, not my favorite Michael Jackson song, but I gotta say, this is probably, like, the only time I actually liked listening to the song, when he was performing it. And he's just doing his cool moves, you know, the moonwalk and his other stuff. You know, and the movie ends off saying, like, his story continues, which basically kind of leaves us, the viewer, like me, I would say, I probably gotta say that our party is, like, the little disappointing part of the movie, but not that it ruins it, only because the message says that the movie his story will continue, basically kind of leaving us like, oh, perhaps there will be a sequel, because there's a lot that they left out. They obviously left out the Smooth Criminal, the Super Bowl performance, which, I mean, I don't remember how the Super Bowl performance was. I maybe the story that I mentioned probably was. I just forgot all about it. Or, like, you know, his sister Janet Jackson, or the death, or his passing away. Obviously Michael Jackson has a lot of stories to fill for more than just one movie. I think it works, maybe even a trilogy, or just two movies. I'd say trilogy. What makes Michael Jackson, aka the King of Pop, so unique, and he's the GOAT. He is the one artist that no artists cannot replicate now. You can probably take one of the most famous artists, let's say Bad Bunny or Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Sabrina Carpenter, Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, and all the above. The artists that are famous because they're and stuff. That they may have a big following because of social media, but without social media, they would not have that big following. Even with social media, they do not have that big following. They cannot replicate what Michael Jackson did. I'm telling you, if Michael Jackson was still alive and had social media, it will even be bigger than all of them. Because if you look closely to his actual live concerts, well, the one that I watched specifically as a kid, that with my dad and my older brother, dude, it literally was packed. It was huge. And I look at new Super Bowls, specifically Bad Bunny. It's dude, that's nothing compared to what Michael Jackson. Dude, he literally bought Pepsi. That's how big he is. Great movie. Critics are full of shit. Jafar Jackson did the best performance of Michael Jackson. I would like to see more of his performance, and also I would love to even hope that there is a sequel, and I hope the sequel is directed by Antoine Fuqua. Okay, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Yeah, because if anyone directs this, I don't think it won't be the same. Yeah, highly recommend this movie. Don't listen to the critics; they're dumbasses. So, my final verdict for this movie: a 10 out of 10. I know, it's obvious, but it's a 10 out of 10. It's a masterpiece. Don't question on it. So, in conclusion, Michael Jackson, aka the King of Pop, is the greatest of all time. I mean, what other artist can compete that, None. Well, that's going to be today's movie review, so make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon up there. Make sure to follow me on my Instagram page called Thunderstruck1810. This is Angel Esquivel here, and as always...
But the kid is not my son. Woo! She says I am...